I'm Nick with Shoplift. Thanks for joining us today. If you don't know where you are in the CRO Masterclass for Activewear Brands. So welcome. If you all could start dropping into the chat who you are, where you're from, what company you're with, especially I'd love to hear what Activewear Brands are joining us today. All right, let's get into it. I know everyone's just kind of eager to get to the content. So here's what I'll say. We have an awesome masterclass for you here today. I've got some really smart dudes joining me to drop knowledge on you all. Stay to the end. The end is where we're going to talk about how to put it all together, and we're going to preview these sweet tools that we've built for you all and tell you when you're going to get your hands on them. I know everyone's just itching to get those tools, and I promise you're going to get them today. Quick intros. I'm Nick. I lead the sales, marketing, and partnerships teams at Shoplift. Shoplift is A/B testing and conversion rate optimization app for Shopify Plus brands. We're the only Shopify Plus certified A/B testing app in the App Store. Show of hands, or maybe like drop in the chat if you are already a Shoplift user or customer. That would be awesome. Love to see you all weigh in on your Shoplift experience. At the end of this masterclass, y'all are going to get a test bank with over 100 test ideas specific to activewear brands, as well as a CRO roadmap template that you can use to build yourself. So wait until the end to find out how to get those. I'm going to kick it over to Matt. Matt, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Matt Bass, Director of Optimization at Anatta. We are an e-commerce growth agency, platinum Shopify partner specializing in full funnel optimization strategy. So going to talk through some exciting test ideas for you all to consider specific to activewear. And yeah, really excited for the conversation today.
Claudio.
Thank you so much for having me here, Nick. I'm the founder and CEO of Videowise. We are the highest rated video commerce platform on G2, Trustpilot, and Shopify. And I'm here today to inspire everyone with a few ideas on how you can leverage your existing video content and UGC to increase conversions and other revenue metrics. We ran over 800 A/B tests that were successful so far over at Videowise, and just here to drop all that value.
Matt, Claudio, it's awesome to have you guys here. Something that you all may not know is that Matt and Claudio's teams contributed a ton, not just to this masterclass today, but as well as a test bank of ideas that you're going to get at the end of this masterclass. These are two of the best in the business, and we're really pumped to have them with us today. All right, let's get into it. Here is how to get the most out of the next 54 minutes. You're going to get a ton of activewear specific test ideas, and you're going to get a template that you can use to plan your own CRO program. And most importantly, here's what I would say about today. We've all been to generic conversion rate optimization webinars before. You may walk away with one or two interesting ideas, but by and large, the team that's on this masterclass today believes that activewear is not a one size fits all when it comes to conversion rate optimization. Activewear is just different. And today we're going to tell you in what ways those differences impact the way that you do conversion rate optimization for your brand, okay? The way that we're going to showcase that is through 4 key pillars. These aren't the only ways in which the activewear is unique among e-commerce categories, but these are 4 things that really drive a lot of the differentiation in your CRO programs relative to, say, a CPG brand or a home goods brand or something like that. Pillar number 1, don't let fit uncertainty kill your conversion. I'm going to cover that. Pillar number 2, how to own the perception of your brand's value. Pillar number 3, leaning into visual and emotional selling. And pillar number 4, how to build that year-round discipline of testing where you really see those gains compounding and sending you to new heights. Pillar number 1, don't let fit uncertainty kill your conversion. Fit is where activewear purchases are won or lost. Now, what I mean by this is not, hey, what size leggings are right for me, right? So a little story about me, but tomorrow I'm going on spring break with my wife and kids. We're going to go to the beach. And my wife said to me the other day, hey, I noticed in your packing list that you don't have any tank tops on the list. First of all, when your wife tells you to go suns out, guns out, you always listen. But second of all, I don't own tank tops, all right? I live in the Midwest. And so I went to a couple of brands that I knew well, and I started to shop for tank tops. I know what size tank top I wear. That is not the problem. The problem is I don't know how these things are going to feel. I don't know what they're going to look like on me when I look in the mirror. How do they make me feel? What are they going to do to me in the sun? All of those things. That's what I mean by fit uncertainty. When your customers buy an item from your brand, they're buying a persona, they're buying a way of feeling, they're buying what they look like in the mirror when they put that on or when they use that equipment. And that's what I mean by fit uncertainty is it, one, is it true to size, but how will it fit? How does it make me look? Will I feel uncomfortable? All those sorts of things. That's what we mean by fit uncertainty. You really need to give them a lot of confidence. Here's a couple of tests that you could run today in order to iterate on closing the fit uncertainty gap: size, guide, placement, and format. Again, like maybe your items do have different sizing quirks, and it's important for customers to know, hey, here's the size I should select. Where we place that on the page, how do we surface that information? Do you have it interesting ways of explaining sizing? Does that need more explaining? Visual body measurement guide showing how this fits, especially if you're offering like a straight fit, a tailored fit, a slim fit. If you have multiple different styles, showcasing what those really look like on a human model. I know for myself, a big one is, what does this look like on real people? Those visual customer reviews, really important for me. These are just a selection of the over 100 test ideas that you're going to get in the test idea bank at the end of this masterclass. Pillar number 2, own the value perception. The activewear category is exploding, but if you look at the data, revenue per visitor has actually not materially changed in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Brands, activewear is a category made up of brands. There are not perfect replacements for the things that you are selling on Amazon, on Walmart, etc. When someone is coming to your brand, they are really buying not just that item that you are selling them, but also that version of themselves that is the owner of that thing, who I like to think of it as like putting on a cape. Like, you become Superman when you put this thing on. That has a lot of intrinsic value. And time again, we find that brands are not capturing all of that value perception. You're leaving money on the table, essentially. This slide talks about, hey, there's no direct comparison for what you're selling. Look at the model in the shot, right? Like, you're not going to see that on Amazon. No one is selling that but you. It's a couple of tests that you can run. I'm not going to hit on all of them, but the one thing that I really want to highlight here is around price testing. Everyone knows, tariffs had a huge impact on our category. And some brands have chosen to take most of those additional costs to the bottom line and absorb that in terms of a margin hit. Other brands are choosing to pass some or all of those additional costs on in price hikes. But what is universally true is that we're not testing enough. And so Shoplift announced earlier this year that in response to that, we've got a crazy, awesome new feature called price testing, where you can actually systematically test the prices on your store and find out where the sweet spot is for revenue. If you don't feel like price testing is right for you, and we definitely hear that from a lot of brands, there's many more ways to capture more of the value perception, how you present and anchor on price, how you frame functional that versus aspirational views of the items you sell, where you place social proof and how that impacts the perceived value of your product. What is the value prop that you're portraying on your homepage? And many, many, many more ideas. These are just a selection of the ideas that you're going to get in that test bank at the end of this masterclass. Okay, I feel like I've talked enough. I'm going to hand it off to Claudio. Claudio is going to talk about leaning into visual and emotional selling.
Thank you so much for that, Nick. I really appreciate it. The one thing that we have found out over here at Videowise is how powerful content can become in terms of boosting shopper confidence. And we initially just started with solving the problem of loading video really fast on a website. But then we learned through A/B testing that content can actually have a very powerful impact over conversion rates. And the reason why it has such a big impact over revenue metrics is because it's a very proactive way to actually showcase the products and to answer some of the dying and some of the burning questions that shoppers might have when they're purchasing activewear. Like, how does it look on me? How does it look on my body? Does it fit? Will I look great, from in the gym by doing my exercise with it? And there's so much UGC and so much content that all of these brands invest into, and they produce it organically. They invest into influencer brand ambassadors, and they build basically their brand story around this content on social. And all of the sudden, all of that content just sits on social. None of that content actually makes it to the website. Up until a few years ago, all of the brands, they were putting these, the social feeds on their websites, and all of the social feeds, where are they traditionally placed? At the bottom of the site, right? Like, reviews go at the bottom of the PDP, social feeds at the bottom of the site. I come from a product design background. I'm an ex-Uber designer, had the opportunity to work with companies like Meta, Instagram, and others. And we always A/B test and we doubt everything. And one of the things that I tested was like, how many people actually click on those things? And it was less than 10% that actually even scrolled to that area. And sorry, photos. I can see photos on the chat. And because less than 10% actually scroll on your site to actually see that social proof, we did the things backwards. We were like, what if we put social proof right at the top on homepages, like right at the top after you scroll from the hero? What if we put it on product pages at the point of purchase? And at the point of purchase, meaning underneath the add to cart button. What if we use it on collection pages strategically? So we started doing hundreds of A/B tests on brands. As Videowise grew, we basically grew because of A/B tests and brands willing to run A/B tests with us. And we just designed solutions that were producing actual results. And we learned that content can have a very powerful impact if you load it extremely fast on the website and if you autoplay it, but also the quality of content matters a lot. So all of these brands investing so much in content, they build their brand, they invest in brand ambassadors, and they put it on social. Our advice is don't just keep it on social. Your website is kind of dry and it's purely transactional. Bring all of that personality and brand building back to your site because there are no page speed concerns. It'll load extremely fast. The experience is great. And from our testing, it always increases conversions. It's not a question of if, just a question of how much you're going to get. And from our results, we are getting anywhere from 5 to 35%. And the more questionable the value proposition of your product, the higher the results. This slide gets back to like, there's so many questions about products that photography and text rarely answer. And this is coming again from my personal product design experience. I've had over 15 years of product design before I started this company. And one thing that I learned really fast is that people don't read, people scan. And the faster you can actually provide information to them visually, the faster you're going to be able to answer the questions that they have about your product. Or the faster you're going to be able to build confidence when they're about to make a purchasing decision. Whenever they're going to see their favorite influencer or a celebrity or an athlete or a brand ambassador on your, next to your product or using the product, the faster they will have the confidence to actually purchase that product for themselves. And that's where content comes in and plays such an important role. Using video directly in your PDP gallery. From our tests, using it in this first or second position is one of the best conversion rate uplifters. Or straight underneath the add to cart, or even lower underneath the add to cart. We usually put anywhere from 3 to 4 different video areas on the brand websites that we work with. And when it comes to activewear, I think there's so many questions, and the most question is, can I find content with somebody that has my body type? Because everyone's body type is different, right? And sizing is a really big question. Can I see some content with that body type? And our clients, the content strategy that we've adopted is like, let's diversify the content that we put over there because every brand knows their client. Everyone knows their ICP. They know who's buying their products. And you already have that content sitting around. So why not put it to good use when the client is already considering purchasing it? We could move to the next slide, Nick. And in this next slide, I have 2 examples. Thank you so much, Nick. We can play those videos. These are just 2 of the lowest hanging fruit video widgets. We call them video widgets. Videowise has over 24 video widgets that we can use for different use cases. On the Build for Athletes website, you're going to see it on the homepage, that type of social feed carousel that's put on the homepage. That's been generating amazing results for us. For Hugh as well, another activewear brand, we are using social content straight underneath the add to cart. And again, these implementations are made by the Videowise team and they're always bespoke from client to client. So we actually end up working really closely with every single brand. It's not like a one fits all. They're fully customizable and white label so that we never want this experience to feel like an add-on to your website. It has to feel like it was there from the beginning. And like with the agency that you work for, like with your design team, it matches that experience. But the most important thing is it always drives incremental revenue. So it's a really low hanging fruit. And I cannot stress it enough. That's why even within our business, it was never about if it will work or not. It's more about like getting it in front of brands and having them run an A/B test. We highly recommend running the A/B tests with Shoplift. They always provide a free trial to run those A/B tests with Videowise. So anyone interested in doing that, I'm more than happy to extend that between Videowise and Shoplift. It's a free A/B test that they can actually do it. But these are just two examples that you can actually see. There's a lot more case studies from other industries, but since we're talking about activewear specifically, these are two low-hanging fruit placements that you can leverage today. And this is I don't know, like 9.8 or 9.9 out of 10. It'll have an impact over your revenue metrics. And we can move forward, Nick. So highly recommend you use that UGC placement on your PDP, and highly recommend also to use shoppable videos instead of static imagery on your collection pages. I know in this example, we still have kind of like a PDP video, but some of the things that we do really well is a strategy where we replace on the collection pages some of the images of a certain product with auto-playable videos of those products. And why has this been working so well? It's because sometimes you want to attract attention to the eye of the shopper to a particular group of products, which you know are kind of like best selling or they have a higher AOV. So you just want to drive the shopper and guide them through their experience on the website. So that's one great collection page use case. Another great use case for active brands have been shoppable images. With shoppable images, every single activewear website has so much photography on their site that's working for them. What we highly recommend is make that photography discoverable. And we have really easy ways where you can just tag a product on photography on your existing images on your website, and whenever somebody hovers, they will discover like what bra is this, or like what leggings are these? Let me actually find them because I think the imagery looks great. And last but not least, there's also a big retention play that activewear brands can do. It's not necessarily tied to CRO; it's more tied to retention, but it's still tied to revenue. And both of these, the goal is how do we sell more, and how do we help activewear brands sell more, which is a really cool way to use UGC with Videowise and a Klaviyo integration is with cart abandonment flows. Anyone leaves any product in the cart, you can actually dynamically place some UGC content or like your top performing UGC content about that product straight in the email. There's almost like 3 GIFs that load extremely fast. And whenever somebody left that product in there, you can have a content area saying like 10,000 people actually purchased this product and we're really happy, and here they are. So it just boosts that confidence again of like, oh, I should probably actually consider or reconsider purchasing this product. And the best part of it, which is compared to Klaviyo's standard use case of putting video, which is taking them to YouTube, we take anyone that wants to watch that content to the PDP to see the product again, watch the content, and complete the purchase right there and then. So we try to keep the flow always on your website. You're always in control of the data, the content, and the customer journey. And we can continue where this actually works with any type of content that you have. A lot of people, a lot of times they overthink it. They really overthink it. They're like, oh, maybe we don't have the content. You do. It's on your social. You already have it. And it's teams like ours, which we've been doing it for so many years, that can advise you how to actually leverage that content strategically and where to put it, and even assist you in the implementation and run the A/B test for free with Shoplift. So just as a top level conclusion, and we can move over to the next one. The top level conclusion would be, this is not a question of if this works. It's just a question of how much can you generate from it. By doing more and more testing. And we have different playbooks that are already prepared for activewear brands. If anyone is interested, we're more than happy to extend this free A/B test with Shoplift, and even share even more case studies and more workflows where we can use content to turn it into revenue. I'm sure that Nick is going to share these slides. I'm not going to read through this, but this is a great resources that their team was able to put together. And I highly recommend you go through it because it's just a super low hanging fruit for any brand out there. Thank you, Nick.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
so much for the assistant.
You bet. Hey, by the way, Claudio mentioned it, and I popped this in chat, but anyone who's looking to test Videowise for free with Shoplift, we've got an offer at the end for you all. So you don't have to remember that. We've got a link for you. We'll be super excited to help you all test out Videowise. All right, over to Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Claudio. Yeah, pillar 4, talking about year-round testing and overall ensuring that optimization isn't something that's focused on seasonality or product launches. In general, activewear is really driven by these seasonal peaks, product development, new colorways dropping, whatever it might be. And those are overlapping rhythms that never necessarily let up. It's something that's year-round, and a lot of businesses put a lot of weight on those seasonal moments. When thinking about optimization and CRO in general, if we could go back one more too, would be great, just with the cover. Sweet. Yeah, I just want to really emphasize like true optimization demands continuous testing. It's not a once a year sprint of this is what we're doing this spring, or we know we have a new drop at the beginning of summer. We need to make that the biggest moment it can be. Raising your baseline performance of consistent experimentation is how you compound wins over time and make sure that those different peak moments are bigger than they were the last year. I see where a lot of brands that we work with in the space, typically they're comparing year over year performance without consideration for what they've done since last year's sale. You're competing with other brands that are entering the space. Someone who bought your shorts last year might not need a new pair this year. The work that you do in between those seasonal moments is what makes next year's moment even bigger and more impactful. So I just wanted to kick off with why it's so important to think about testing as a year-round discipline and not something that's hyper-fixated on a certain time of year, or if you have a product release that you're putting a lot of weight on. And this just reiterates, most brands are stuck in the same annual loop, this sort of cycle of, in February, we should test before summer. We know that's our big time of the year. And then March, you launch your big test that you were really excited about, get the results in April. By May, it's implemented. June, you're peaking out. And July, that was your testing cycle. So a lot of brands fall into this trap, I would say, of recognizing what peak seasonality looks like, trying to make the most of that moment, and then waiting for that moment again. I really do want to emphasize that testing shouldn't depend on seasonality or collection launches. It's really a constant practice. It's like sharpening a sword over time, right? You need to consistently work at it so that you get sharper the next time you need to cut through a big moment, right? And I do think the piece that we're going to get to in some of the coming slides is it's not just about seeing what the numbers look like. It's about what you learn through testing and how you apply those insights to the next test that you run. It's this cumulative snowball effect of improving performance over time, where as you test, you get smarter, you learn more about your users, your brand, your product, etc. Like, I think tying user motivation to your product benefits, addressing skepticism and concerns about your product, a lot of what Claudio talked about in terms of how you address skepticism with impactful content and UGC is really important. I would add extra weight to that and really emphasize that testing also needs to be diversified. You don't want to run the same kinds of tests or focus on the same page year round. You need to think about the whole funnel and diversify not just what you're testing, but what pages you're testing on, what type of content you're leveraging to speak to different users. So want to emphasize that 12 months of testing, a full year of testing, should equate to 24 to 36, really depending on your traffic at a page-specific level, will determine how many tests you're able to run to achieve statistical significance at a confidence interval that you're comfortable with. That ultimately results in decisions that you don't have to guess on, right? You learn what actually drives conversion, not what you think does. So developing hypotheses about what your users care about or what you think your most valuable USP is for your product, that's what's going to make a difference in terms of validating that and applying that to your information architecture or your messaging hierarchy. For example, if you have a pair of activewear shorts and you are confident that moisture wicking or sweat wicking is the main selling point that really is your differentiator from other people in the space, is that the first thing that someone sees when they're landing on your landing page or on the PDP? Or is that the fourth or fifth bullet on a list of product details? Is that visually communicated with an impactful visual in the image gallery? Is there an auto-playing video right beneath the buy block on the PDP that addresses that? All the learnings that you get through testing these things ultimately lead to more performant, higher converting product page or whatever page you're testing on. So that does apply to what we're talking about with content and the spirit of this conversation, but it also has to do with best practices for product discovery, how you merchandise different products and categories, and drive users towards high converting outcomes. So emphasizing continuous testing is what compounds performance year round. Diversifying your testing strategy is how you learn about your users in different ways, learn about your experience, your brand, your business, what resonates with users, and apply that to the next test that you run to have a higher win rate than anyone else in the space. We can go to the next one here. So some test ideas that are aligned with that spirit of, hey, how do we test different parts of the experience, different levels of the funnel? One being free shipping threshold on the progress bar. And I would even kind of expand this test idea to be how you leverage the progress bar in general to benefit you and your business. Free shipping is one of those areas where if you're not gamifying your progress bar, you're missing a huge opportunity in general. But what is most valuable to your users? Tying this to activewear specifically, a lot of brands that we work with sell matching sets. So the top and the bottom are matching colors, right? Do I know that the average order value for people who purchase both of those things is slightly below my free shipping threshold, slightly above? How do you position that threshold to maximize basket value and lean into the underlying user behavior and their purchase tendencies? 2, being hero format for the images and collection pages. If you're a high SKU brand, I've seen brands completely eliminate the hero from collection pages to get users in the flow of browsing, looking at options, comparing. So how you leverage this high impact screen real estate is really important. If you're trying to tie to a campaign that you're driving a lot of traffic here, whether that's on paid social, TikTok, whatever it might be, is there consistency in that video content from the pre-click experience and the post-click landing experience? In general, how you leverage this, again, very high impact screen real estate is important to the user on their shopping experience as they scroll and start to look at options. So if it's just beautiful campaign imagery or this high impact running video, or if it speaks directly to the product benefits, all of those things are worth testing to understand what makes a difference, what moves the needle in terms of making users more likely to convert. And then lastly here, we have activity-based product type navigation. So I was talking a bit about how you improve product discovery and navigation. If your users, you could leverage SEO data, what keywords users are searching when they arrive on the site. And if they're very activity oriented, this could inform you about your niche, what your customers care about most, how this relates to their day-to-day, and maybe they are activity oriented. So again, just a consideration for leveraging what you know about your users, those customer insights, and applying them to the UX and how users discover products could make them more likely to convert. And we could go to the next one here. Pulled up an example from a client that we work with, Stio, prominent ski wear business. Some of you might be familiar, but this is a brand that we've worked with for a very long time. We've had a lot of success, not just with experimentation, but in general, supporting their business. When you think about a seasonal business, skiing is one of those that has a definite season, right? And how you lean into other moments of the year and prepare for those accordingly, or leverage those downturns to learn more about your users and their general shopping tendencies that might be lost in the noise of peak jacket shopping season. I think there's a lot to be said about learning about users during peak moments and what drives them when you know demand is going to be high, and leveraging those sort of valleys to understand what you could learn about their general shopping tendencies that is independent of a peak shopping season. So when we think about the year-round planning and whatnot, use the peaks as much as you use the valleys for their own respective strengths, I would say. Look at the before here, just a lot. If I scrolled down, you would see that they had 5 bullet points for the product detail benefits, following the rule of 3. You also see beneath the buy block here, we have the 9 left in stock in red, and beneath the initial image here, we also called out the savings in green. So leveraging mobile best practices in general is where you put your best foot forward with any experiment. But in general, what you know about your users is what really moves the needle, and why this test was above a 9% conversion rate lift. So exposing those color swatches was one of those big things. Prioritizing the key product details or that short description above the image helped prime users on what they're looking for or what would motivate them to purchase, qualify the product decision, etc. Maybe even justify the price. So just recognizing what users are going to be looking for or what they're considering in their purchase decision-making process. You want to be sure that you're prioritizing information that's relevant for them based on the learnings and insights. So results like this start with leveraging best practices, but they have infinite upside based on how you leverage what you know about your users. So this is just one example of the work that we do at Anatta in terms of optimizing PDP. We work full funnel. So wherever you're driving your traffic is where you need to optimize. If I had to give one piece of advice, I know when Nick walks through the roadmap, we have a tab in there that specifically focuses on prioritizing based on the data that you have and what you know about your users, how they navigate the site and move through the funnel. So think about pinpointing bottlenecks and solving for those. That would be my big advice here, and understanding why your product is different. Why do your users care, and how do you put that on a silver platter and weave it throughout your site experience? So yeah, that is it for me. I'll pass it back to Nick.
Amazing. Matt, that was awesome. Hey, Matt, by the way, before you go off back on mute, I'm curious, with this Stio example, can you just speak to, and maybe you did, but was this just a redesign that was this one test that went from the before to the after, or was this a summary of a lot of incremental learnings?
It was both. So we've learned some of these things over time, and that's a great question, right? So before changing high impact, like site-wide change, like all of PDPs received this update, this treatment essentially. So there were things that we learned over time through other testing, as far as exposing color swatches, for example, that we applied to this. So it wasn't a one foul swoop, hey, is this going to work? It was, we have confidence that this is going to create an uplift. What else can we sprinkle in here that either adds brand value or speaks to product benefits in a different way? So it was the combination of testing over time, applied learnings, and one bigger redesign push initiative.
It's awesome. Yeah, I know, like I'm just as guilty of this as anyone. Like you see these, if you were to see this case study like in a social post on LinkedIn or something, you might be led to believe that this was like an overnight success, but it's really an overnight success 2 years in the making, right? Like a lot of things led up to having the confidence to make these types of changes and deliver this type of impact. But the summation of all the things that you learned before launching this redesign were really the reasons that you felt so confident pushing this live, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
So thanks to Claudio and Matt. Really awesome content. And we really appreciate you guys sharing your brains with us. Let's talk about putting it all together, right? So by now, hopefully you would agree that one size fits all conversion rate optimization is not the way to find success in the activewear category. There are best practices that are specific to you all, but really even below those best practices are the things that are specific to your brand, your customer, the products that you sell, the impression that you're trying to leave that really drives kind of the unique fingerprint of your CRO roadmap. So following this masterclass, you're going to get two things from us. I'm going to talk about what those two things are. But before I do that, just want to talk about let's say that you were starting from scratch today and you wanted to go and build a conversion rate optimization program that runs all year long. Like how would you even do that, right? And this is a really simple slide, but I think it just points to how much work goes into building a successful CRO program. First thing you need to do is do a category audit. Where are you ahead? Where are you behind? What's really specific to your brand that are the things that are going to define what you think your step number 2 key revenue moments are. The seasonal peaks that define your year, like just literally map out the year, right? Winter, like a ski brand like Stia was going to have a different shape to their year versus maybe a brand that sells, tank tops and workout wear that's really orientated around a warmer weather season. You're going to map test hypotheses. So what am I trying to achieve in those seasonal moments throughout the year? And then you're going to layer in your testing program. What ideas do I want to test that sit underneath those core hypotheses? And then you're going to go do, right? Assign owners, lock in the cadence, and start testing. So that's a lot of work. And what I want you all to understand is that we've gone and done a bunch of the legwork for you all already. So again, what you're going to get at following this masterclass is, I believe the thing is like 144 pages. It's a massive, massive PDF with over 100 tests mapped to a handful of categories that are, again, specific to your brands and are really going to give you great ideas and starting points for how to jumpstart your testing program. This is what, by the way, it's impossible to show 144 pages, so I just screenshot the Figma file just for you all to see the richness and the breadth and depth of this thing. So this is kind of what it looks like. You're going to get this. It's free. The second thing that you're going to get is you're going to get an Excel file with a couple of tabs in it. One tab is going to allow you to kind of like lay out your year, overlay those seasonal moments, and then drop your hypotheses and the things that you want to test by month into those months. And the second tab is going to contain a place for you to actually sort of load in those the tests that you have the highest conviction in. You're going to be able to load in those tests, create yourself a little backlog. And as Matt said, like prioritization is key here. Is this a high traffic page or a low traffic page? Is this a big bet or something that's best practice? How many visitors does this page get? Impact and effort, right? And you'll able to take those tests, prioritize them for your brand, and then bring them onto your 12-month roadmap. So you're going to get this starter file. It's an Excel file with a couple of tabs in it, and you will load those test ideas into this and you'll be off to the races. If this feels daunting, if it's like us, even with these tools, I still don't know where to start, or, I just don't have the confidence. Maybe I don't have the capabilities on the team. I don't have the time. I definitely suggest that you take advantage of Anatta's free conversion rate optimization audit that I'll put on a slide at the end here. This is just zoomed in view of the plan. This is the last slide that I'm going to stop on. And the reason is because we got some QR codes on this page for some offers. So right before we get to Q&A, I will just voice over our offer. And then I would also like Matt and Claudio to also talk about the offers that their companies are giving you guys today. So for us, our offer is actually just the things you're getting at the end here. So if you scan this QR code, the first QR code on the page, this will actually take you right to the landing page where you can download the PDF with the 100 plus test ideas and the Excel templates. The other thing that I want to mention is we do have partnerships with both Anatta and Videowise. Claudia will talk about what we're offering to folks who want to try out Videowise and A/B testing. And we are also a preferred conversion rate optimization platform for the Anatta agency. So we really look forward to working with you all. And I really appreciate you all showing up for this really fun masterclass. Matt, you want to talk about your offer that's on the screen here?
Yeah, absolutely. Offering free CRO audit for anyone interested. Feel free to reach out, scan the code. Our team is amazing, and you'll get a chance to speak with myself if you have any questions as follow-ups for anything that we discussed today, or how you're planning your business for the year, what your current testing program looks like, or the team members that you have focusing on that. How do you prioritize initiatives, form hypotheses that will impact performance in a meaningful way? Here to talk through all those things. So it really is just more of a consultative touch base, and we can make it more of a CRO focused, more tactical audit if you'd like, but want to extend a hand, a warm one at that, and just let you know that we're here to help in any way that you'd like to reach out. So, yeah.
Thank you. Claudio.
Yes, in terms of our offer, the way that we work is very closely and very hands-on with brands. That's even a reason of all of the G2 reviews, Trustpilot and Shopify that are listed everywhere. We're very much reputation-based. We work very closely with every client with Slack channels. Our customer success team is happy to perform any tests for you and show you any examples of other activewear brands or apparel brands and how they're using Videowise. So if you use the QR code, I recommend booking a meeting with our team. We have a money-back guarantee where if we don't increase any of your revenue metrics, you don't have to pay us a dime. We will just refund. It never happened, but we always have that to make everyone feel very secure. And we can A/B test it straight with Shoplift for free, which is great. And it's a very streamlined process. It usually takes a week or two, depending on the amount of traffic that you have. But setting up Videowise usually takes a day or two. Like, it's mostly about picking the right content. The actual installation of the app on your site is in a few minutes. So it's more about content strategy. But book a demo if you'd like to see what other apparel brands or activewear are actually doing. Some of the most common and successful tests that we've done. My team is more than glad to be helpful towards you and work really closely with every brand.
All right, let's get to Q&A. Okay. Kevin asked, and I think Claudia began to answer this in chat, but I'm going to put you back up on stage here, Kevin. Activewear has high return rates due to fit. Beyond just testing size charts, have you seen success in A/B testing UGC that shows different body types in the same garment? Sorry, I lost the rest of the question. Which version typically leads to a higher keep rate rather than just a higher add to cart rate? I love this question, by the way, because conversion rate optimization is really like the beginning of the journey, right? If you do the world's best sell job and they get this thing and it doesn't fit like your site said it would fit, if it feels terrible, even though you said it would feel soft and luxurious, they're going to return it. And that's worse than them bouncing from your site in the first place. So post-purchase is really important. And I know we didn't talk a ton about that today, but Claudia, you started to answer this, and what would your answer be to this?
I think I even covered this during the webinar, which is the fit in motion type of UGC, like putting the product into context. That's what people will want to see. They don't want to see static dry mannequin type of footage or like marketing footage where, you have close-ups on the fabric or stuff like that. They just want to see real people. And if you can tie that up next to the size chart, we've seen it work well. And A/B test was complementary to the size chart. Either video integrated next to the size chart or inside the size chart pop up or right next to it. That's where we've seen it work really well. So it's not a question of UGC versus no UGC. It's actually more of like, what specific content can we run against each other, and can we deliver the content that we know our buyers want? So if you know that you're mostly into men that do a lot of heavy lifting at the gym, for that specific product, like a tank top that's really into bodybuilders, you should show those types of physiques and those types of personas in there. So use in terms of a content strategy, you have to use content that's very relevant to the majority of your buyers. And you might be losing maybe some add to cart rates because you're going to have maybe like a 20-30% of your buyers that don't really match that physique. But it's not about just the add to cart rate. It's about people that buy end up keeping the product and not returning it back. And the more you can have people keep the products and not return them back, given the, some of the high return rates in activewear, I think that's the biggest win. And I think Matt has something that
I wanted to chime in as well. I think independent of UGC, I think what Claudio mentioned is really important for relating to your users, persona-based resonance. And another thing that I've seen in my experience that's really effective is specifying the model's dimensions. So how you leverage that in the image gallery, that might not be UGC necessarily. And I know that was the spirit of the question, but something that I think really sets expectations for how does this person match my body type? There's a loose definition if I'm just looking at someone. And I know activewear, specifically shorts, is really, like, I see most of the highest return rates I've seen are on inseam issues. Stio has the same issue for pants as well. So if I know what the inseam is, but I don't know what the model is, how does that picture help me understand where that short's gonna sit on my knee? So specifying model dimensions is something that I've seen leveraged further down in the image gallery so that it doesn't come across as compromising your sort of brand aesthetic or the polish that you're trying to have on your PDP. But for someone who is skeptical or wants to make sure that they're getting the right fit, you can include that imagery in the size guide drawer or something like that as well to help just support a visual of what this could look like for me based on my dimensions. So just wanted to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Not to pile on, but post-purchase is fascinating to me. I think sometimes we see high return rates, especially for particular items, and our gut reaction is like, oh, I need to do something about that high return rate. But in fact, like, maybe people are buying 2 sizes of the same one because they really want to try and decide what kind of fit they need for themselves. I think actually really having strong presentation of business benefits, being really clear about what your return policy is and not really bending customers over on that stuff allows you to capture more value. So back to pillar number 2 around capturing more of the value and the perception. If you were, I think everyone who's here would say, hey, if I could charge $10 per item more and also offer free shipping, free returns, you would take that trade-off all day long, right? And so being a brand that folks actually feel comfortable maybe returning items to that aren't perfect, the last thing that you want is someone to be unhappy with their purchase and feel locked into having that or be charged $30 to return it. So don't be afraid of return rate at face value, but definitely lean into what you can do to drive more value. And by the way, you can price test these things, right? Maybe you do have room to increase prices. All right, which one do we want to tackle next? There's a bunch of questions here. In your experience, what is the impact of A/B testing personalized landing pages that feature a fitness influencer's likeness versus sending visitors to a standard page? So split testing different landing pages, maybe with different things on them.
I could answer this one. I have some experience here. I would say, in general, it depends on where the users are coming from. You're going to have a higher success rate if there's consistency in pre and post click experience. So if you're running a campaign from an influencer, you should drive those users to the influencer landing page. Similarly, it depends on your campaign structure, but if you run things on a category level, I would drive users to the category landing pages. I wouldn't get granular and driving for this specific ad, we're driving everyone to the PDP for this specific color. Getting more granular in that way, I think, makes it a lot harder for the algorithm, Meta specifically, to optimize for performance in that way. Driving to collections pages also benefits the user in terms of seeing the options available to them. Maybe they saw something they didn't know that they wanted more than what drove them there, right? So you're just casting a wider net by driving users to collections pages rather than specific PDPs in that way. But again, it really does depend on your campaign structure. If you have lower funnel retargeting or re-engagement, maybe it would benefit you to drop someone right on where the purchase happens. But in general, I would say if you're running campaigns that are influencer driven or UGC driven, drive them to a landing page that matches that look and feel.
I love that answer. All right. When A/B testing, how do you account for newness bias? Specifically, how do you determine if a winning variant won because the UI was better or simply because the customer was excited about a new seasonal color? That's an interesting one.
I could go again. I could do this all day, Kevin. You got good questions here. But yeah, I think you got to look at the sales data after. Like if there's a huge skew towards that new color, then you know that it's moving the needle. But you do have to just be considerate of what you're emphasizing with the test. If it is just strictly UI improvements, then I would try not to do it when you're dropping a new color or a seasonal color to really understand the difference that it's making. Similarly I think there was a question also around sale periods as well. So, or maybe Nick, you dropped that one in too. So it's like, I wouldn't test during a sale period. There's going to be external factors that are impacting performance, right? So try to keep it as apples to apples as possible when you're experimenting like this. And strictly testing UI is something that I would do in a valley period that isn't impacted by peak seasonality, a sale moment, a new product release, or something like that. But if you do want to understand like how that new color impacts sales, maybe I would highlight it in a product card on a collection page for all of my shorts. If I just dropped a red short and that says like new release or limited LTO, like we've seen a lot of success with limited time offers, limited edition stuff, with leveraging in-grid product cards or badging as another mechanism, tagging and badging different products to make them stand out, differentiate your merchandising strategy and drive more users to that color. So it's just understanding like, why are people purchasing these products? How do I change the experience to put them in the right light, put them on a silver platter for users, knowing why they should be interested in it. But for UI and general like improvements, I would try to do it during a time that isn't going to be impacted by something external.
Yeah, if there's anything that I would take away from your answer to really the last couple of questions, it depends a lot on where the traffic's coming from and what time of year it is. Different things are going to perform differently. I was talking to a brand just the other day who was like, hey, our conversion rate has steadily declined over the last year. And I was like, what's your ads team doing, right? Well, we've been scaling ads. Okay, well, you're bringing in top of funnel traffic that naturally doesn't convert as well as your repeat visitors and the ones coming from your email list. So that's actually to be expected. You actually want to see that. But when you actually crack open the data and look at their tests, their conversion rate on their paid traffic actually has been steadily increasing. Their conversion rate across all their channels has actually been steadily increasing because they've been putting in the work on their CRO program. It's just that the traffic mix has caused their site-wide conversion rate to change. So really understanding what your traffic breakdown is and what's happening at a more granular level is going to help you form better hypotheses and, more importantly, not overreact to just the one number that's on your Shopify admin homepage, right? Audio.
If I might add, Nick, to what both of you have said and offer more value to the audience from our tests, new versus returning visitors is also very important to take in consideration, especially when using content on the website. If you can dynamically change the content for new versus returning visitors, is definitely going to have an impact, because somebody that returns to the site, or it's a returning buyer, content is not going to have the same impact over them. So you will need to use fresh content and re-engage with that user. And another thing that we found out is different content strategies for male versus female buyers. Like men have very different buying behaviors than women. Women tend to watch a lot more content, where we've noticed like 4 times. We've noticed in our demographics, women watch 4 times more content on the women category products rather than men category products. And this is because men just have a more direct buying behavior. So with women, you just have to work a bit harder and test a bit more the content that you're going to have on that page, and rather than with men, where it's a bit more straightforward. So just wanted to add on top of the great value that you and Matt already shared.
Super huge thanks to Claudio, to Matt for joining us today. Thanks for contributing to these amazing resources. Thanks for sharing your brains with us. All right. Thanks, everyone.